Women Up Radio, designed to facilitate women's empowerment, improve your career, develop your talents, incorporate your passions, achieve fulfillment and success.
Hello, this is Anna Letitia Cook of Women Up Radio, supporting Empower Women and the Girls on the Road in their quest to support women entrepreneurs around the world. Fernanda and Taciana are visiting 24 countries, interviewing women and researching the conditions, the business ecosystems, the challenges and the advantages that exist in each country. And from what we've spoken about so far, it's amazing the differences. Anyway, today we're visiting Brazil. So hi, Fernanda and Taci. How are you today?
Hi, Anna. We're great. How are you?
Fine, thank you. It must be great for you, your home country, Brazil.
Yes.
Learning so much about it. So, tell us, what's the general vision of business and women in business and women entrepreneurs in Brazil?
Well, I think it's fair started by saying that we were quite surprised because we had been away from Brazil for a few years when we went back there, and we were quite surprised about the entrepreneurial scene. I think that it's important to say. It's an ecosystem that has been growing a lot. Mm-hmm. Now you have all major players there in the country in different cities. So this is huge. You see really that entrepreneurship has been seen in a different way in Brazil that has been in the past. Yeah. When entrepreneurship was seen much more as a way out, when you kind of lost everything, you lost your job, you lost your perspective, and okay, I'm going to do something by myself. Now it's a completely different ecosystem. Yeah. Of course, in terms of business landscape, Brazil has had some very big challenges, especially throughout this past couple of years. But, before that, it was in a very booming phase. So we were able, of course, to take advantage of that in so many issues. Mm-hmm. Regarding women participation, I think, unfortunately, we still face the same challenge that we've been seeing in other places. But one thing, which is a very positive thing, according to many reports, Brazil is one of the few countries that today we have more women as entrepreneurs than men.
Oh, really?
Yes, and this is really good. Women have been, becoming entrepreneurs in a higher rate than men.
Oh, that's fantastic.
There are reasons for that, of course. Many, they become entrepreneurs because they need to, mm-hmm. But there's a lot that pursue entrepreneurship because they identify an opportunity, because they want to do something new, because they, have some sort of new experience and build a business. Seems to be a good way to put their experience to invest their money. So for women right now, I would say again, we have challenges, but it seems to be a very positive moment right now.
Okay. So, what does it really mean for them? Do they have better access to funding and things like that? Do they have better support than the other countries? And what does it mean for them to be a woman entrepreneur?
And I think, as in other countries as well, women have found in Brazil specific programs to develop their ideas into business. I believe also that in terms of culture, even though we are part of Latin America, and of course we know there is like kind of a machista culture, women don't face as many pressures from society as we saw in other countries, specifically in Asia. Such as like that we are raised, to get married and be at home and take care of family. I think women, and probably because of economic aspect as well, we cannot afford only have like one person of the couple working. So women have no pressure, not because we have like a very developed society in terms of, equality, but because of the need of earning salary and earning money to contribute to the family expenses. So women and men are pretty much engaged into the workforce.
Oh, and excellent.
Yeah, and I think also more and more organizations are seeing that it's important to bring these women into the entrepreneurship world, because we see in many studies that companies that also founded by women and have more women in their workforce, they generate a lot more to the society.
Yeah. I know I did some training, which I was doing international groups, and I had 3 or 4 people from Brazil, men and women. And the women seem much more involved than some other countries. And because I had group talks where everyone was, butting in and whatever, they really seemed much more dynamic, and the men seemed to be listening very much to them. I mean, this was in a business setting, so I don't know if it's like that over the whole culture, but from the impression I got was that it was really dynamic. But I mean, also, when you think about the business ecosystem, Brazil is part of BRICS. So obviously, recently, over the last, 5-10 years, it's definitely been leading a lot of the emerging markets as one of the places to do business. So how does that affect the business ecosystem, and particularly with the women who want to set up their businesses?
Yeah, I think, being part of the BRICS certainly has drawn a lot of attention to Brazil and a lot of investment, which is awesome. It's, it's great. Every country needs that. But as I mentioned earlier, we had, maybe a full decade that we really took advantage, and we had sustainable growth rates. But, for political, economic reasons, things started to really kind of fall apart in the last 3 to 4 years, I would say.
Yeah.
We have to be honest, and we have to say it, that Brazil still has a high level of corruption in the government.
Yeah.
And it's not a novelty to anyone, but we are trying to face that in a very open and direct manner. Of course, this affects the business landscape. People especially investors, they look at us with, okay, well, how's gonna be the next year? I don't know. So we're still facing some sort of insecurity period. But that's interesting, because in terms of, entrepreneurship, startups, of course, the whole business ecosystem affects entrepreneurial field, of course. But I would say that in general, we've been trying to keep afloat of everything bad that has been happening. And women-wise, I think that, as Fernanda mentioned, a lot of programs, a lot of interest, a lot of incentives to women to really put themselves out there and try to open a business, to learn about new business. There are programs specifically for women, lines of credits. Today you have major players, also from the government, really investing in women as entrepreneurs. So as we saw in a few other countries, they really see entrepreneurship as a way to kind of turn around or help the turnaround of the country as a whole. Yes. So that's why I would say it's still a very positive. Regarding all the difficulties that we have been facing, and the economy will take a little bit longer to really be in the levels that we saw a few years ago. But entrepreneurship, and for women especially, I think it's, as I mentioned, a very positive moment.
Excellent. And are there any particular challenges for them, or any other advantages?
I think particular challenge, I would say, for men and women, of course, like our tax system is crazy. Our labor laws are very hard to cope with, putting up a business, and it's very protectionist. Infrastructure wise, we have not many, ways of, distributing our products and services, not only throughout the country, but outside of Brazil. So I think Brazil has to really catch up in these aspects comparing to many other large countries and fast forward thinkers. Yes. But in terms of specifically challenges for women, I would say that there's still the pressure of when you look at the business that is funded by women, usually they will think about, how's it gonna happen when they have kids and they have the family. It's still Brazilian women are very outspoken, yes. Especially when we're thinking talking about the big cities. But it's still, the pressure is on the women to take care of more things at home and at the family.
Yeah. They're still locked into the domestic goddess routine.
Yeah, and that's also, of course, and again, we throughout this project, we want to show, the things how it is. We try not to be biased, and we have to do, especially when we're talking about a home country, and we have to talk about the challenges that women still face, especially out of the big cities. We had the chance to interview in the northeast of the country. It's a very different landscape. Economy is not as developed. The mindset is quite different from São Paulo and Rio de Janeiro. And then, in small towns and local villages, there you have organizations that are trying to empower women to become entrepreneurs, to really add some revenue to the household, but they face a huge challenge within home from their husbands.
Yeah,
do not see, them being empowered economically as a positive thing. And we have to talk about that, because only talking about that, we'll have a chance to change the mindset, to change the attitude. Yeah. So at the same time that we have a very positive, of course, moment for women entrepreneurs in Brazil right now in terms of support in the big cities, we cannot close our eyes and not work on those, remote areas.
Yes.
They really need the support to change, especially to change the attitude.
Yeah. I think that's something in a lot of countries. The cities have got much more open-minded, but the rural areas are still very close to the idea of women taking power. But okay, so what soft and hard skills have these women entrepreneurs got in common, or what ones have they had to develop, particularly compared to some of the other countries?
I think soft skills, especially because of the Latin American culture, women are very outspoken. They're not that shy away from, comments and discussion if they need to negotiation. I think Brazilian women are very strong. I know we are biased to say that. But I think we are in a good path, to help all the women to push forward in the country. And hard skills, I could say that more and more women are being educated. Mm-hmm. I think we also have more women in universities and with higher degrees than men. Mm-hmm. So they're going after not only, the hard education, but also to put this education into ideas and business.
Yeah, no, I just would add another thing, since we're being biased, I think it's important to say that, and that's the image that Brazil has, and I think the people shows it. We are happy people in terms of we are positive.
Yes.
So it shows, especially when you're trying to start a business to become an entrepreneur, keeping a positive attitude might make a huge difference at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So I think Brazilian women, they really show it. And I think that's important, of course.
Yeah. Yes, I hadn't thought of that. Because Brazil is known for its happiness, for its life, for its positivity. So that's a wonderful skill to have as part of your normal character. Brilliant. Okay.
We also have many role models for Brazilian businesswomen, leaders, founders of their own companies that are being role models for many of these Brazilians for a long time.
Yeah.
So that's good, and I think now it's coming new generation with new women.
Yes.
But we do have some, big names that were good for looking up to.
That's great. If you've got an example that you can follow, it just makes everything so much easier. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay, and is there any key motivational difference in Brazil that could help other women entrepreneurs around the world?
I think motivation is when you look at a country that you see that a lot of potential, but a lot of things that is in your way. We see that, as Tassi mentioned, the corruption, the crisis, the violence, all the things that, but then you said, okay, I think one thing that they have in common, that they want to make a better Brazil. They want to be part of the change. So it's because we have this chaotic situation sometimes, it's really a field for them to be there and be the change and make a Brazil better for many people.
Yes, and to be together, to work together and support each other.
Yeah, definitely.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you very